Good evening. Thanks for coming back to the OST congregation. Now, mind you, we're going to be studying the Bible in the book of Revelations. Right now, we are in chapter 16. So, we're going to be reading verses 1 through 21. And also, I would like to talk about my faith and believing in Takashla. Takashla is my word for Christianity, which means that you could go and be gay every single day that you want. You could hook up with the same sex every day that you want. And then you don't have to pray for forgiveness because it's already been forgiven. So, before anybody tries to talk about me, they need to understand who I am and what I represent when I lead the Sundance. When I lead the Sundance, it's all because I am gay and gay only. I do not like women no more, for they had committed adultery on me and committed sin against me, including cheating on me, just like the men and the creation of animals and everything else, including the people that are supposed to lead the world. So, I always say, it makes a better me when I eliminate these people out of my life, period. I run my own new world order because that is what I am meant to do. I'm not meant to bark orders or repeat a failing nation or economic situation or failing fame or failing spying on another government indefinitely. Like I stated, I do not need to sit over anybody to rule with the triad. All them ways are so that way whoever you're sitting over is able to rule with the triad. Now, I always stated, when you believe in Takashla, Takashla will murder your own family that go against you. When you pray, when you are already forgiven, when they try to hold something in your face, or they try to hold something over you, or try to gain access to your most secretive desires in the world. I do not have a loyalty toward any administration in the world of creation. And I will never have loyalty because we've seen how that plays out when I try to go and sue these individuals for violating my constitutional rights as a United States citizen is what the law states, and I'll always have a United States citizenship permanently and indefinitely. And if you're not looking for me, then why did I make it into Hollywood? Why did I get paid to start up a whole film empire using my triad, using my Sundance, and not labeling it anything else but the Furman Sundance and Sundance only to banish everyone out of the nation of the Sioux Nation indefinitely, but myself as the only creator. I do not use, oh, do you feel a spirit touching you so you should take your own life? If you're feeling that today, you should take Takashla in as your savior. And like I always stated, you do not use somebody that has been burnt in your family to try to unburn them. I don't unburn no one. I get them turned into the feds indefinitely, or I get them banned from government assistance indefinitely. So there is no consequence, period, for me already being contracted by the United States White House multiple times. Multiple times I've been contracted by the United States White House having a United States citizenship only. I do not discuss tribal citizenship because at the end of the day, it means nothing. It means nothing today in 2024 to be indigenous or to be around the world heard or felt or possessed to try to overdo anything in the world. I always say to these countries that lead, if you are that powerful, come to America and you know that they're in the Sioux Nation and murder the medicine men that make you angry, that misinterpret what you're trying to say. Because at the end of the day, my Takashla is greater than what Tracy Sher Whipple's Takashla will ever be, including the rest of the people that go to Sundances today. And that have tried to come before or after me. There's only me and me only. No one else. So, may we please get to the reading of Revelations chapter 16, verses 1 through 21. And mind you, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. What I'm angry at is the government thinking, or the non-government thinking, that they're going to bring people around me that I don't want around me, period. If I'm not sexually attracted to, you are blocked indefinitely. I don't need for you to pop up for anything, period. I don't need the government to pay you to stay away from me. I don't need you to keep up a game of the Triad murders using Takashla. I don't need nothing in life but you to leave me alone and accept Takashla as your savior. Now, may we get to the reading. And I do not invite nobody over me, period, because everything that the Triad has tried to show me has destroyed every single non-proof of evidence, period. So like I stated, there'll be no prophesizing of my own death. I'm not the one that wanted to play the made-up games and alias games, period. When I went there, I said, do not give me a Native American or American Indian name, period. I don't want it. I'm not going to accept it. I don't want it. My name is Alec James Furman, and it's always going to be Alec James Furman. So all those name changes that you think are out there don't exist. And my mafia name is AJ, and I'm a Satan's sidekick with full colors. And to get full colors and to come on your feet, you better bet your Takashla I sent them to the creator to get my colors. So, they're no longer here. So, may we get to the reading, including any of the creations are no longer here. They're not able to be passed down, going out that way. And that's the only way that I know. And I taught myself. See, I'm self-taught, and I pay myself and myself only. I don't seek payments or look to go get payments from somebody keeping up a wicked world of sin. Meaning, people that don't want to be involved in it. Why keep targeting people that don't want to be a part of Takashla's creation? So, like I stated, Takashla is a United States of America word and classified in the United States of America only. I tell these indigenous nations they need to give up when Parliament ruled alongside them. They need to give up them ways, period. Because Parliament no longer rules alongside them, including the rest of the nations that call on them. But the United States of America and the United States of America only. And like I always stated, I am done with people talking about they were monitoring another country and that's why they were acting that way. There is no exception for people that want to practice another country's traditions, because you do not need to practice that way or that mentality when you believe with Takashla and you believe in the Triad. I'm a member of the Triad because that's what I was spelled, meaning I was called upon to do. So, we're going to get back to Revelations chapter 16, verses 1 through 21. May we begin the actual reading. Then I heard a mighty voice from the temple say to the seven angels, "Go your way and pour out on the earth the seven bowls containing God's wrath." So the first angel left the temple and poured out his bowl on the earth, and horrible, malignant sores broke out on everyone who had the mark of the beast and who worshipped his statue. Then the second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it became like the blood of a corpse, and everything in the sea died. Then in the third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and the springs, and they became blood. And I heard the angel who had authority over all water saying, You are just, O Holy One, who is, and I who always was, because you have sent these judgments. Since they shed the blood, O your holy people and your prophets, you have given them blood to drink. It is just reward. And I heard a voice from the altar saying, Yes, O Lord, God the Almighty, your judgments are true and just. Then the fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, causing it to scorch everyone with its fire. Everyone was burned by this blast of heat, and they cursed the name of God, who had controlled over all these plagues. They did not repent of their sins and turn to God and give him glory. Then the fifth angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and his kingdom was plagued into darkness. His subjects ground their teeth in anguish, and they cursed the God of heaven for their pains and sores. But they did not repent of their evil deeds and turned to God. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great Euphrates river, and it dried up so that the kings from the east could march their armies toward the west without hindrance. And I saw three evil spirits that looked like frogs leap from the mouth of the dragon and the beast and the false prophet. They are demonic spirits who work miracles and go out to all their rules of the world to gather them from the battle against the Lord on that great judgment day and God the Almighty. Look, I will come as unexpectedly as a thief. Blessed are those who are watching for me, who kept their clothing ready so they will not have to walk around naked and ashamed. And the domestic spirits gathered all the rulers and their armies to a place with the Hebrew name, Armageddon. Then the seventh angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a mighty shout came from the throne in the temple, saying, It is finished. Then the thunder crashed and rolled, and lightning flashed, and a great earthquake struck. The worship of the worst since people were placed on the earth. The great city of Babylon split into three sections, and the cities of many nations fell into heaps of rubble. So God remembered all of Babylon's sins, and he made her drink the cup that was filled with the wine of the furnace and of his fierce wrath that came from heaven. And every island disappeared, and all the mountains were leveled. There was a terrible hailstorm. The hailstorm weighed so much as 75 pounds fell from the sky onto the people below. They cursed God because of the terrible plague of the hailstorm. Thanks for reading Revelations chapter 16, verses 1 through 21. And this story, once again, was played out on the Oglala Reservation using my car, a Chrysler 2015 limited edition silver, and the color is silver. Let's tell the story correctly and get rid of all the falsified information. And these images and pictury of the Bible played out using my triad. So I'm on chapter 17 now in the book of Revelations. And I've never left the United States of America ever in my life, including, everybody knows, all these countries that they want to constantly try to say or speak about are a part of the United States of America today. all governments know that these countries are owned by the United States of America, and I'm not going to sit there in any type of unknowing zone due to the fact I don't need to speak to somebody that speaks to me on a TV, that tries to run game on me using a TV. So, like I always stated, I always believe in Tokashla due to Tokashla has showed me the most ruthless judgment over my hostage, meaning the people that tried to hold me hostage, and has ended their life tragically. And they had to go home and meet their creator. I always stated that I always wanted to be a rock and roll singer and celebrity, but I had chose to do acting instead. You know, I've been paid to act, and I hid that from everyone due to the fact I got there by myself. I'm not gonna use somebody that wants to try to manipulate something when they themselves were criminals. I've never been a criminal until I was called upon by these individuals that then I turned in and have escaped from, like the escaping of the 12 tribes out of Israel. So I always say, I don't lie with anybody at night. I have my own back. I have my own. I don't need to go out there and beg anybody for anything because they owe me now for doing all of this. I'm only preaching Tokashla's way of life. And then they would rather run out to a evil ass medicine man. And yes, I say ass, A-S-S, meaning they show they ass in people's face. And then they expect somebody to help them once they have acted an ass. Meaning that they've disrespected the United States of America. But yet they seek United States money and compensation when they themselves are a United States citizen first and foremost. If you got a driver's license, you are a United States citizen. If you got a driver's license or identification card with the naturalized star on it, you are a United States citizen. There is no dual citizenship for tribal citizens. It's not 1 minute they're a United States citizen and the next minute they're a tribal member. Everything has to flow constantly. Nothing can be cut off. It has to flow constantly. All of the codes of the Sioux Nation have been cracked due to I turned in the language to all the countries that asked, and the decoding and classification. Nobody will hide anything when it comes down to these tribal nations that want to try to act like they're the center of creation, using what I had read in the Bible and then tried to play out here in the United States of America only. There'll be no secrets, period. Now, like I always stated, in the Constitution, it is my way and my way only. I have been around the mafia, I've been around the cartel, and they told me, you know why, Tracy Cheryl Whipple, your mother got caught up? Because she chose to go to jail in her own mind. That's why she got put behind bars. How do you get caught up, they said, in a city that you're supposed to rule using a triad? And then she took the lady's life that told me all these secrets, and now she is a peasant of God's creation, including Tokashla's creation. She is a peasant, meaning she is a drug-addicted fiend waiting to relapse. Her favorite game to do was methamphetamines when the governments would come out there to the sun dances. They would sprinkle the meth in the water. They would sprinkle the meth over the food. They would sprinkle the meth over the marijuana. They would sprinkle the meth over multiple things, including put it in their eyes, their skin. They would ingest it. make sure it digested in their digestive tract, make sure that the failing organs would be repaired with somebody else's organs, meaning they would place the people over or layer them up using the triad. And then they would forsake God and they would forsake Takashla and seek Takashla again. And Takashla has one form. He is the ultimate creator, meaning when you seek him as a destroyer, as in you seeking Takashla as the devil, he will show you why you fell. And you may feel as if you're the most powerfulest, but remember, when you call on Takashla again as the creator to save you from the devil, as he's undercover as the devil, Takashla, and there's only one Takashla. Myself, when I went home, they called me Takashla. And then they said, oh, I shouldn't call you that because now we won everything that Tracy Sherrill Whipple tried to take away. So, I always say, when somebody shows you in the mafia they alias such as Wildfire, believe that that's the person that they are and that they're trying to get back to. Don't change it out and try to say, oh, well, Tracy Sherrill Whipple, we're not going to call you Wildflower no more. Why? When everybody wants her to be Wildflower. Everybody knows that she's American, Indian, Native American because I told them. I'm sick and tired of people hiding they tribal memberships. Meaning, medicine doesn't exist if you don't have Takashla. If you don't have Takashla, you have no medicine practice. If you keep seeking the devil's ways, you're going to get lost by Takashla, and Takashla will end your life indefinitely. We didn't seen that with the white mouses. We didn't seen that with the standing bears. We didn't seen that with the moose camps. We didn't seen that with the chief bears. We didn't seen that with the Wapels. So like I always stated, beware of what you ask Takashla. Because at the end of it, Takashla will take your life when you have forsaken the ones that were sent there with the message to guide you out of Takashla's doing. So I'm going to close because at the end of the day, I do not have a family to go to. My family would rather play a triad game of senses than to sit down and admit defeat, that they got caught up and now can face criminal charges, as there's no record label that can save them because I turned them all in. I turned in every single record alliance or company that they're thinking of, including all of their switches and including the help that think that they can escape for helping and they can't because they kept their mouth shut for too long. They let people get away with this sin too long and these crimes too long. And then to think that they're ruling a world. You're not ruling a world just because the United States government thinks that you're going to get a little land in the United States of America. Mind you, this Bible is meant for Israel over in the Middle East and the Middle East only for it to be true. And I didn't come back as an Israelite, so therefore you don't have a Jesus, period. And I'm not going overseas. I don't have a passport. I've never been outside of the United States because I don't trust any other country due to the fact that I grew up in an era where we were able to see murders that happened to people that believed in the devil's way of life overseas, representing all of these administrations that the standing bears put on, that the high horses put on, and that the moose camps put on, and that all these different names then put on. I've said the names already in my video, in my YouTube video. And the first thing that they always try to do is never watch my video. I tell you, do not watch my video if you're going to remove your mark from watching it. And do not broadcast it either using triad networks. Don't use Takashla. Takashla is a triad, the ultimate triad god. So I always say, don't use my technology because this is me. If I was born an Israelite and was born over in Israel, I wouldn't have to worry about anything, period. It would have just been mine. So I always tell people, stay up out of the triad, because at the end of the day, I have no loyalty to these people. I've met these people. Their number one job was to not show me a Sundance, but to get me in the United States Army. Mind you, I did enlist in the United States Air Force first. And that's where they got caught up at. Everybody gets caught up representing the Air Force network. But Takashla, it doesn't say that Takashla came from the air or the earth or anything. So I always say I do not need to cover for nobody who's not willing to represent their own country. Because I told everybody, check the people that keep misprofiting, meaning having a vision of foresight, prophesizing over one's actions, movements, what death is going to occur, who it's going to affect, who it's not going to affect. And mind you, in the triad is ultimate power. Takashi's world is ultimate power. That means no member is more important than Takashi himself. There will be no lookalikes. There'll be no spelling around Israel or with the Roman Empire indefinitely. So, I always say, I never go around and talk to the other countries, for I asked all those countries, do not send your serpents. That is all that you're sending over me is a serpent. A serpent with a wicked tongue to do harm to somebody who is in depth in their own message around the world. So like I always said, we're going to close with prayer. And Takashla, I don't need nobody that thinks that they higher than somebody else, because they ain't nobody at home want to speak Takashla's name, but yet they'd rather run to the persecutors of foreign countries to try to do their bidding here within the United States of America, including the countries that the United States of America own to this day. Without the United States backing, these tribal nations will be no threat indefinitely, due to the fact that when the United States of America says jump, all of their tribal citizenships and members and expelled members shall say, yes, my master, and what is the height that you shall seek for us to jump, including everything else. I don't work for the Oglala Sioux tribe, and I never will, due to the fact that they left me out there to be murdered, and they would rather play, oh, well, my triad and my hearing and my body is so fine, so why should I rescue somebody else? You know, meaning myself. Why would you want to use me as Jesus Christ or the devil or the devil's son, or play all of these Bible games in America and then try to laugh in the face to all of these NATO countries? That is why the moose camps were the first to be persecuted, including the chief bears, including the white mouses, including the high horses, including the red birds. And the list goes on and on. And mind you, none of these countries should be doing ghost dances, meaning tribal countries inside the United States of America. And when they go to Canada, they shouldn't be doing ghost dances. And when they go to Mexico, they shouldn't be doing ghost dances. And when they go around the world, they shouldn't be doing ghost dances. For these rights were taken away in the 1800s, while Parliament was burning at the stake. You see, these countries, these tribal citizen members and ships and people want to believe in reincarnation, but where's your history to teach what happens when you go against the United States of America using the Bible? The Bible was meant to banish witchcraft off the face of the earth, including in the heavens and in the hells and in any other place that a being believes in, like purgatory. And it goes further. and take away all of the powers put in place to hold a soul and body and form of somebody that had committed suicide on themselves and was stuck in a false idol place of imprisonment. So I always love it when somebody from Hollywood, right? I went up with Marvel Studios. I went up with DC Comics. I went up with all the major production and publishing companies. And I just asked them, once I come and film, including starting up all these different productions, just make sure that when I come out for my next film, it comes with royalties and it comes with being on a bigger scale than just a check. Than just I'm out here balancing my triad. I'm out here trying to be seen before I get murdered due to the fact that I'm believing in Christianity, and at night they would try to spell me into, they call it hell on earth. And they couldn't. So I just thank everybody, because at the end of it, I went home and I got undiagnosed with schizophrenia and paranoia and delusion and my mood disorder to go off and join the United States Army, as I had enlisted with my fingerprints on file, including signature online, including all of my family's information released, due to the fact that I had forgot that I had enlisted in the United States Air Force first. And when I said I was doing my own adoption challenge, which was legal, the adoption was legal. I was doing my own challenge in my own family, saying that in my adoptive family, including my biological family, that I'm going to be the first active 30-year lifer in the United States Army working at the White House. And when that got boring, I was going to move on overseas and at home. And I kept saying, who's trying to run away from, I grew up my entire life in military family. Who wants to run away from a life of privilege and escape from the United States of America? I don't. And I'm not saying this to cover anybody, including myself, because at the end of the day, I get so cautious on what people are saying or trying to aspire to say using Takashla, because Takashla can hear all that he wants. Will Takashla intervene with anything? No, Takashla won't, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't make sense, why intervene with it? That's like saying, if a man knows that he is gay and he has a family, but he has a secret lover that is a man, why is that man playing a false life and a false teacher and a false idol in his family? Why wouldn't he leave his family and move in with the man? So as I always stated, nobody can preach Christianity to a T, because nobody is sin-free. And the Bible will teach you that. Nobody is born into this world sin-free, including then they want to try to use the different religious teachings in the world and try to claim that a child is innocent. And a child is not innocent when that child inherits the father's sins in the womb. It doesn't say male or female. It just says the child inherits the father's sins in the womb. So no conception of innocence or sin-free is ever there in Takashla's world, including my world, including everybody else that's listening and broadcasting. So I'll close this with prayer. And mind you, I don't need any of my senses messed with due to the fact that I am healthy. So I am healthy, and I always been healthy. I get tired of people with medical experience wanting to use a triad and put me over somebody to heal them or to harm them or to shut down one's mind or bodily force that Takashla has granted me, myself, and that's it. I don't have a following. People would rather use my following to put them in the adult entertainment industry or to put them into industry to avoid criminal persecution of Takashla. You know, why go home to the American Indian reservations that they call them today? NATO used to call them Native American war imprisonment camps, and they're no longer a war imprisonment camp. And I always say society needs to update they thinking and they laws and the way that everything is broadcasted, due to the fact that when I'm at home, I don't have to hear anything. My body's not played with. When I'm at home on my reservation, I'm not doing anything but producing the weather and producing the force for people to live. And I do not do transformations with the triad, meaning I'm going to give you something healthy of myself and then take something that isn't healthy or disease infected, period. I'm not going to hear you because, like I said, Takashla doesn't have the ability to cure you. He has the ability to make your life perfect for what your current health status is, your current mentality status is, your current abilities in life to have self-preservation and not self-preservation to commit harm on anybody around the world. Regardless, there are people put in place to do that for Takashla and Takashla only. So like I always stated, I get very sick and tired of people always wanting to try to say that I'm irritated. I'm irritated at the fact that people aren't willing to understand who Takashla is and what Takashla has to offer, including no Mitaki Ako Takashla, meaning no, we are not related to Takashla. So like I always state, I know more of my native language correctly and talk correctly and visuals corrected using my triad and Takashla than my own family bloodline, who would rather misinterpret every interpretation to try to play a sinful game of who's gonna kill Takashla or who's gonna manipulate Takashla. Because at the end of the day, I said I'm a proud Republican and Republican only. I come with a Republican core and a Republican core only, and I've always grew up in a Republican home, and I will not be living in fear with Democrats trying to hold me hostage or the independent party telling me what to do, what to think, what to say, how to act, how to look, how to pursue justice, liberty, and freedoms for all, as the Republican Party was the party to stand up and end slavery, end apartheid, end and abolish the Indian Removal Act. And the Republican Party needs to be loved, adored, annued, anointed, and always kept sacred in all of our hearts around the world. I don't fake anything, and I always ask people, don't follow me around. You go out there and explore the world for yourself, as I'm not leaving the United States of America. And when I'm done here in D.C., when I'm done here amongst your Congress leaders in the rest of the world wants to know what D.C. stands for, when I'm done here in the District of Columbia, when I'm done here in the city of Washington, when I'm done here in Washington, D.C., when I'm done here in Washington, District of Columbia, I am moving back home using United States housing called HUD housing to live out the rest of my days at my capital in the Ogallala Sioux District. And I'm going to continue on my American and United States studies due to the fact that if you don't have the United States influence in your country as a tribal membership, then why do we need you around the world to try to hold or stabilize or unstabilize anything of American democracy and freedoms that ring for all who call on our nation to end persecution in their nation? And you won't find that with anybody else. You'll just find my country, the Oglala Sioux Nation, and the rest of my countries, the Oglala Sioux Confederation. You'll just find them manipulating and making it worser and far more worse than the people before them and the people after them and the people that will come after them and the people that tried to get them in. They aren't seeking to do it wholeheartedly. They're just seeking it for $1. That's why I always tell people, you owe me nothing in life but to know right and to know wrong from wrong and to know right when it's right and to know right when it becomes wrong. And to draft new laws and put in place a union where we don't destroy ourselves here on earth or in heaven or in hell or in purgatory or anywhere else, but to form peace that you believe in and they escape out of everything and go into heaven and stay in heaven. Because if God tells you that he casted everyone out of heaven down to earth. So please take religion serious, as that's the only thing that I have to keep me up. And I've always ran with the Republican Party due to the fact that they just blunt about everything. They're blunt. They get things done quickly. They believe in small government. They believe giving the powers to countries that are willing to dictate and create a better environment when it comes down to international human rights, international human safety, international human preservation, international human trafficking to end, and the accusers and the accountables persecuted by the court of laws. And if they don't make it and happen to die while the investigation is going on, to be persecuted where they had believed that they would go and held accountable and charged. And then also creating a more perfect union so World War III doesn't occur. Because why keep worrying about a country when we need to be worried about country of not our own, but of others that are misfortunate of our own? Meaning, like a Native American country is what I'm getting at. Or an American Indian country is what I'm getting at. You see, my country is the most highest triad wealth out there. But I always tell my government, my tribal government, when you want to give up your witchcraft, then maybe we can all partake in the wealth that was blessed there by the Creator. Meaning, Creator is another word for Takashla. It's still talking about the Lakota language. You know, you could say no, because no is in my language too, just like ne. I can say ne Hasapa Takashla, which means no Negro Takashla. But maybe they want me to give up nothing in return. So, the reason why I always say ne Hasapus, because you can say Hasapus too, which is the same thing as Negro. Hasapa is the same thing as Negro. Hasapus and Hasapa mean Negro. So, you know, the good thing I got a tribal membership. I'm still half-blooded Oglala Sioux Lakota, 35% Nigerian, and why count the rest? because the rest made me. So, I'll count the rest, okay? I'll count the rest. So, I told you a little bit about what I am. So, you got about, let me see, 60, you got about 71% of my DNA makeup right there. So, there's only 29% that you need to solve. So, anyways, we're going to be continuing on with the study of Revelation, and we'll be starting the next chapter on the great procession. So that'll be with chapter 17. And mind you, I'm a proud I'm gonna create a religion called Takashla. So it teaches the good word, and it's not forced upon you. It's just a belief. It's just a powerful belief system that had created me and got me out of the devil's presence and eyes. As I've always lived in heaven, I always say, and I always thank people. I don't need nothing in return but people to turn their lives over to Takashla and believe whole, and to believe and hold Takashla just how they hold. Takashla means God. Takashla means Jesus. Takashla means Antichrist. Takashla means devil. Takashla means the creator. Takashla created everything. Takashla means the Great Spirit. And Takashla means, once again, the Great Spirit. Takashla means the Great Spirit. And Takashla means Mother Earth. Takashla means the one within the middle of the earth. Takashla means spiritual one. Takashla means the most powerful, held high in high honor. And I would like to just continue to just do my teachings and studies, and I'll be looking for that feature film eventually. And at the end of the day, let's pray and close this out. So, dear Takashla, please bless us so that way we can see our inheritance in heaven for once. And those that don't make it to heaven, please have mercy on their souls. Including, please bless all of the impersonations of the Oklahoma tribes, due to the fact that the Oklahoma tribes were the first ones with me and amongst me, and had guarded and safeguarded and protected me, and made sure that I always stayed out of harm's way, and always put up so that the United States government would have proof and record of the creation within a nation and the birth of a nation. Yes, people do look to Africa, but also look here in the United States of America, for they did sell off the birth of a nation to the United States of America, including the 13 colonies and the 13 founding families, and to the tribes and indigenous families that were here. And please don't use my aliases unless that you are extremely spelled in to use them, and make sure that they do not fall back into anybody's hands, not of the government, and not seeking to work or be contracted for the United States White House to explain around the world what is magnificent and brilliant about Takashla and the NATO nations, including the United League of Nations. And please form a more perfect union than the one that is current and the one that will be left after I am deceased. And I pray this in Takashla's most high, mighty, respectful name, and we all together say amen. And please take communion this coming up religious holiday. I call it religious holiday every time that one attends mass or church or temple or at home, and it goes on to the point where any religious ceremony held. Please accept Takashla in your heart. And like I said, right now, the government doesn't want me to go into anything but go and be a worker and be contracted by the United States White House again. And all right. And when it comes down to money, make as much of it as possible. The Bible always tells you to tithe 30% of your income, including other religions too, so that way you have a heavenly home, they say, that will be prepared for you when you want to see in using the Bible. I always say the Bible is the greatest of the great works of creation, and how everything is played out and meant to be manufactured. And by manufactured meaning the steps put in place to carry out a perfect plan for it to flow constantly and with no interruptions or malfunctions, and for it to always be produced correctly. Alright, guys. Have a blessed one, and may you be blessed. Alright, guys. Have a blessed one. I love reading to everyone and remind you this is my actual me, meaning it's my actual voice. So it's always what I'm looking for. I never go off of what other people are looking for, because if you believe that that's what somebody isn't looking for, chances are somebody else is looking for it. This is the world. This is the free world of entrepreneurship when it comes down to enterprise. That's with an I, not an E. So, you guys have a blessed day. So, anyways, for those of you that want to do a little, your own study, just make sure that you have security when you're traveling around these nations, and make sure that if you are a federal agent of the law, just make sure that you have the tribals administration's approval. If you want to practice your law enforcement, just let them know that you're in their nation. Go by the president's office, they call it, down at the Capitol, and have him spread the word for you that you're in the nation, as he's supposed to do, or she is supposed to do, including the rest of the nations around the world. Alright, guys, be blessed and stay safe. Always stay employed and be blessed and safe. And may you too have another sacred day here on Takashla's green pasture. And so, have a blessed day.